Today is Monday, March 10th. We're talking about more fallout from last year's campus protests and what the next leader of Canada is saying about Trump's tariffs. Also, a controversial move from the CDC, starting to research whether there's a link between vaccines and autism. Plus, why shoppers are boycotting Amazon, what new attractions are coming to Disney theme parks, and who gives the most money to charity. We're talking about America's top 5 donors. Those stories and even more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A well-known activist who played a major role in university protests last year is now in federal custody. U.S. immigration agents arrested Mahmoud Khalil, and his lawyer says the U.S. State Department revoked his student visa and green card. He's a Palestinian graduate student who led anti-Israel protests at Columbia University, though he calls them anti-war protests. The Trump administration has said protesters glorified Hamas, and since Hamas is a terrorist organization, they've forfeited their rights to stay in the U.S. While Khalil's supporters say the administration is unfairly cracking down on political speech. So far, no word what charges Khalil might be facing. A petition, though, calling for his immediate release has been signed by hundreds of thousands of people. Meanwhile, the administration is apparently reviewing tens of thousands of foreign nationals' social media accounts, saying it's weeding out Hamas sympathizers. Trump's team has especially ramped up scrutiny on Columbia University, saying the Ivy League school should have done more to shut down anti-Semitism on campus. Just one day before Khalil's arrest, federal agencies announced they canceled government contracts and grants awarded to that university, worth about $400 million. Columbia's interim president says the school is still working with the federal government to address their concerns and combat anti-Semitism. And the school is hoping, with that, funding will be restored. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is still looking into other universities that also saw some of the biggest anti-Israel protests last year. So stay tuned. President Trump moved to upend a popular federal student loan program. In an executive order, he called out public service loan forgiveness, telling his administration to change up the eligibility requirements. The program came out of a bipartisan effort in Congress, and President George W. Bush signed it into law back in 2007. It was meant to entice college graduates to get into fields like teaching and social work that serve the public good, but aren't always as lucrative as private sector jobs. To qualify, people have to work for either the government or certain nonprofits for at least a decade, and they must be enrolled in certain payment plans. But Trump says some of the nonprofit organizations that now qualify go against American values. Specifically, he says they actually support things like illegal immigration, transgender-related care for minors, and disruptive public protests. Trump also says the program's incentives load students into majors that aren't needed and can increase the cost of tuition. Though he didn't get into too many specifics, critics say the president is only attacking organizations that go against his agenda, even if they do actually benefit society. Either way, the order may also not take effect right away. Legal experts say it could take a lengthy federal rulemaking process, and even then, it could face legal challenges. The federal government is getting smaller by the day. In one of the latest downsizing efforts, the Department of Health and Human Services is reportedly offering most employees a $25,000 buyout offer. And this comes after thousands of HHS employees have already been laid off. News outlets like the AP report more workers can opt into the buyout starting today and have until the end of the week to accept. While HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he has a list of people to potentially fire. Separately, the Department of Homeland Security told TSA agents it will no longer honor a bargaining agreement with their union. DHS says it's an effort to remove bureaucratic hurdles that impact productivity, but the union says it's illegal and promised to fight the action. Speaking of DHS, the department is also giving its employees lie detector tests. Leaders are trying to find out who might be leaking information about immigration raids. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says 2 leakers have been caught already, and the department plans to press charges. She also says with leakers out of the way, raids will be more productive and more undocumented migrants will be caught and deported. In the middle of a back-and-forth trade war, President Trump is going to have to start negotiating with a new Canadian leader. Mark Carney was chosen to succeed Justin Trudeau as prime minister. And at a party gathering over the weekend, Carney spoke about keeping President Trump from weakening the Canadian economy. Carney has already said he plans to keep retaliatory tariffs on American goods, saying he'll only lift them when the Americans start showing some respect. Remember, Trump has imposed, then adjusted tariffs on Mexico and Canada a few times now. The White House has said it's all about getting Canada to strengthen border security. And on Fox News over the weekend, the president acknowledged the tariffs could go up again, and he would not rule out a recession. But he stands by them, saying it's all part of a long-term strategy to build a stronger United States. Women and girls all around the world came out to mark International Women's Day over the weekend, and at least some of them did it by protesting. Hundreds of rallies happened around the U.S. from Boston to Los Angeles. Some of them attracted thousands of protesters, and a common theme was the new Trump administration, specifically the president's stance on reproductive rights and other things. And there were also large-scale protests in several countries in Europe, Africa, and South America. Protesters demanded an end to inequality, discrimination, and gender-based violence. Other people spent International Women's Day volunteering or otherwise spreading the word. We at The Newsworthy celebrated by reflecting on some of America's influential but often unrecognized women and what we can learn from them about navigating today's political landscape. You'll find that special edition Saturday interview in your podcast app right after today's episode. More news for you still ahead, but first I want to take a minute and talk about our sponsor. I admit it, I've held on to socks way too long in the past. It wasn't until I started getting holes in the toes that I realized, yes, it was time for an upgrade. And wow, I did not realize what I was missing. Bombas socks are so high quality, functional, and stylish. I love my Bombas socks, and I love that they have a sock for every occasion. For example, if you want to be more active this spring, Bombas athletic socks are a must-have. Their engineers have somehow created a blister-fighting, sweat-wicking sock that can help you thrive. Or grab their socks for your everyday errands with arch-hugging, cushioned pairs that'll keep you comfy. Whatever you need, Bombas has you covered. And of course, I love that every comfy pair you purchase, Bombas donates another comfy pair to someone facing homelessness. How great is that? Plus now, Bombas is going international. Enjoy worldwide shipping to over 200 countries. Head over to bombas.com/newsworthy and use our code newsworthy for 20% off your first purchase. That's Bombas, bombas.com/newsworthy with the code newsworthy for 20% off your first purchase. Bombas.com/newsworthy and use code newsworthy. Now back to the news. There's a new warning out for anyone traveling to West Texas or eastern New Mexico. The CDC says you should talk to your doctor first since there's a growing measles outbreak. Nationwide, the federal health agency says measles cases jumped 35% in just 1 week, mostly in Texas and New Mexico. There are now nearly 230 confirmed cases in those two states alone, and the number of actual cases is expected to be much larger. 2 people have died, and neither were vaccinated. But the CDC says the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine is the most important tool for preventing measles. In the face of the outbreak, demand has been going up so much for shots that some Texas cities are now seeing shortages. At the same time, the CDC started a new large-scale study to examine whether there's a potential link between vaccines and autism. And that is despite hundreds of worldwide clinical trials and studies that have found no link, including 2 already conducted by the CDC. But the Health and Human Services Department says the CDC is just trying to be transparent. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy has been skeptical of vaccines in the past, and while he's now supporting the measles vaccine, he still says the decision to get shots is a personal one. President Trump's nominee for CDC director also has questioned the safety of vaccines. He has confirmation hearings scheduled this week. Egg prices just keep getting higher, and now the Trump administration wants to make sure bird flu is what's actually driving this trend. The Wall Street Journal cites sources who say the DOJ is now investigating the cost of eggs. The goal is apparently to find out if egg producers have been working together to raise prices more than they need to by holding back supply. For now, though, an industry trade group says farmers are doing everything they can to fight the bird flu and build the supply back up. Since 2022, the outbreak has led to the deaths of more than 150 million American chickens, turkeys, and egg-laying hens. And farmers say they've had a hard time repopulating their flocks. And with that, egg prices have nearly doubled in the last year. So the average is about $5 a dozen around the country. The USDA says prices could rise again by 41% over the year. The economic blackout that went viral last month is hoping to ride the momentum with Amazon as its next target. Organizers of the so-called People's Union USA are calling on Americans to boycott Amazon. They say the tech giant crushes small businesses, exploits workers, and more. So they're asking people not to buy anything from Amazon or its subsidiaries for 1 week. That means people will be avoiding not only Amazon's main website, but Whole Foods, Zappos, Twitch, Alexa, Ring, IMDb, and Prime Video. Even still, it's not clear if the boycott will impact Amazon's bottom line. The company reports more than $1 billion in sales every day. And during the one-day economic boycott, Amazon sales actually went up. Either way, organizers aren't giving up. In fact, they're also planning action against General Mills, Nestle, Walmart, and more. Disney fans are getting excited about some new attractions. Disney teased new theme park updates at South by Southwest over the weekend. For example, they showed off a new Cars experience coming to the Magic Kingdom in Orlando. They say it will simulate off-roading, and guests will be able to race each other in cars that have their own personalities. The Disney team also spoke about the new Monsters, Inc. attraction coming to Hollywood Studios. It will be Disney's first suspended coaster, giving people the feeling of the door portals from the movie. Disney also teased updates to Star Wars and Avengers attractions at both Disneyland and Disney World. So far, no word on when all the new features will debut, but development is well underway. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Ancient Nutrition. Collagen is not a miracle, but it is proven to help you look and feel healthier. And Ancient Nutrition makes a great high-quality version that has 10 types of collagen from 10 real food-based sources. I love that Ancient Nutrition's mission is to combine the best of ancient wisdom and modern science. Because yes, their multi-collagen advanced lean supplement is powered by clinically studied ingredients that promotes healthy weight management, building lean muscle, and more. Collagen can also reduce joint discomfort and improve the look and growth of your skin, hair, and nails. I know I've already felt a difference, and it's really simple to use. I've been scooping some into my morning smoothie, and I love knowing I'm doing something good for my body and my health. It's totally normal that our body's natural building processes slow down as we age, but that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do about it. So right now, Ancient Nutrition is offering 25% off your first order when you go to ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy. That's ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy for 25% off your first order. ancientnutrition.com/newsworthy. Now, back to Money Monday. America's top philanthropists are making more and giving more than ever before. Each year, the Chronicle of Philanthropy lists the Americans who donated the largest sums of money to nonprofits. And now, for the second year in a row, number one on the list is former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. In 2024, he gave a total of $3.7 billion to support arts, education, the environment, public health groups, and more. And even though there are hundreds of American billionaires, Bloomberg was one of only a few donors who gave $1 billion or more last year. The others were Netflix co-founder Reed Hastings and his wife, Dell Technologies founder Michael Dell and his wife, investor Warren Buffett, and Facebook co-founder Mark Zuckerberg and his wife. There are other big donors too, but not everyone who gives back makes the list, partly because more people have been giving anonymously these days, worried about getting caught up in high-profile, polarizing issues. Also, when it comes to the most money donated over their lifetimes, Forbes says America's top givers include Warren Buffett, Bill Gates and Melinda French Gates, George Soros, and Mackenzie Scott, together contributing hundreds of billions of dollars to charity. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.